The echoes of the forgotten valley, far beyond the crowded cities and restless highways, hidden between towering mountains. There was a valley no map dared to name. The villagers who once lived there called it Silver Hollow, for when the moon rose high, the river shimmered like liquid light. But over the years people left. Some said the valley was cursed. Others whispered that it was simply forgotten by time. Amelia Hart had never believed in curses. A young historian with an endless curiosity, she dedicated her life to uncovering lost places and buried truths. When she stumbled upon a faded journal in a second-hand bookstore, she felt the first spark of destiny. The journal spoke of Silver Hollow, of its beauty, its sudden silence, and a secret that had never been revealed. Most people would have dismissed it as fiction. Amelia did not. Within weeks she packed her bags, left her apartment behind, and followed the fragile directions written in ink that had nearly vanished. The journey was not easy. Buses stopped running miles before the mountains began. The roads narrowed into gravel paths, and eventually into nothing but winding trails. But Amelia pressed on, driven by something stronger than fear, the need to understand. When she finally reached the valley, the air felt different. It was still, yet alive. Wildflowers covered the fields where houses once stood. Stone foundations peeked from the grass like ancient bones, and at the center of it all, the river flowed quietly, as if guarding a memory. Amelia set up a small tent near the riverbank. That first night she sat outside, staring at the stars. The sky was clearer than any she had seen before. As the moonlight touched the water, she understood why it had been called Silver Hollow. The river glowed softly, almost unnaturally. Then she heard it. A faint sound, not quite a voice, not quite the wind. At first she thought it was her imagination, but the sound returned the next night, a low whisper that seemed to echo from the hills. It was not frightening, it was sorrowful, determined to uncover the truth. Amelia began exploring the valley more carefully. She found remnants of daily life, rusted tools, broken dishes, a child's wooden toy buried beneath dirt. Everything suggested that the villagers had left in a hurry. There were no signs of disaster, no burned buildings, no evidence of disease. On the third day, she discovered something unusual. Behind a collapsed cottage, hidden beneath vines, was the entrance to a narrow cave. The journal had mentioned the heart beneath the hollow. Amelia's pulse quickened. With a flashlight in hand, she stepped inside. The cave was damp and cold, but not deep. At its center stood a massive stone, engraved with symbols she did not recognize. They were neither ancient runes nor a language she had studied. Yet as she traced her fingers along the carvings, she felt a strange warmth. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder. They filled the cave surrounding her, yet she could not locate their source. Amelia closed her eyes and listened. The sounds were not random. They carried emotion, grief, longing, regret. And then she understood. The villagers had not fled from danger, they had fled from loss. Years ago, the river had begun to dry. Crops failed, families starved. In desperation, the village elders gathered in this very cave. According to the journal, they performed an ancient ritual, pleading for the valley's survival. The river returned stronger than before, but the ritual required a sacrifice. The valley would live, but its people would forever feel the weight of its sorrow. The whispers were not ghosts, they were memories. The valley remembered every tear, every goodbye, every broken promise made by those who left, and it held onto them. Amelia felt tears in her own eyes. Silver Hollow was not cursed, it was grieving. She realized then why she had been drawn here, not to expose a mystery for fame or recognition, but to bear witness, to listen. For days she remained in the valley, writing everything she felt and heard. The whispers softened over time. The air felt lighter. It was as if the valley, finally understood, no longer needed to cry out. On her last evening, Amelia stood by the glowing river. "You are not forgotten," she whispered. The wind moved gently through the grass, carrying no sorrow this time, only peace. When Amelia returned to the city, she did not publish a sensational story about curses or rituals. Instead, she wrote about resilience, about places that hold memories, about how grief, when acknowledged, can transform into quiet strength. Years later, travelers began visiting Silver Hollow again, not out of fear but out of wonder. The valley blossomed once more, not with crowds but with respect. And on certain nights, when the moon touches the river just right, some say they can still hear faint echoes in the hills, not whispers of sorrow, but reminders that nothing truly disappears as long as someone chooses to remember.